The man standing at my front door wasn't supposed to know where I lived. Ryan Holloway. The name alone made my blood boil. But there he was, 6 feet of pure arrogance and desperation, his face twisted into something between rage and panic. Behind me, my 12-year-old son Ethan stood perfectly still, his expression unnervingly calm. He looked at Ryan like a scientist observing a trapped rat. That's when I knew something had gone terribly, terribly wrong. Or awfully right. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up to where this nightmare actually began. 3 weeks earlier, on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in Phoenix. My name is Nathan Carter. I'm 43, divorced for 2 years, and raising my son Ethan on my own in a modest ranch house in North Phoenix. Michelle, my ex-wife, had custody every other weekend, and despite our split, things were civil, or so I thought. We'd built something important together before the divorce, an education trust fund for Ethan. $55,000, saved over 12 years. Every birthday check from grandparents, every bonus I'd earned, every tax refund. It was untouchable. Sacred. The one thing we both agreed would secure Ethan's future. That Tuesday, I was sitting at my kitchen table, laptop open, paying bills. The Arizona heat shimmered outside, pushing past 105 degrees even in October. I clicked into our joint trust account to transfer some funds, and my stomach dropped. The balance read 0. Not low, not pending. $0.00. I refreshed the page 3 times, thinking it was a bank error. It wasn't. I scrolled through the transaction history, my hands trembling. Withdrawals. Dozens of them over the past 6 weeks. 5,000 here, 3,000 there, all approved by Michelle's login credentials. The final withdrawal, $22,000, had cleared just 2 days ago. Gone. All of it. Every single penny we'd saved for Ethan's education. Vanished. I called her immediately. Straight to voicemail. I texted. No response. I tried again. Nothing. Panic clawed at my chest. This wasn't like her. Michelle was flaky, sure, but she wasn't a thief. We'd both contributed to that fund. She knew what it meant. I grabbed my keys and drove to her apartment in Scottsdale. 20 minutes of white-knuckled driving through desert heat and traffic. When I got there, the parking spot was empty. Her blue Honda Accord was gone. I knocked anyway. No answer. Her neighbor, an older woman watering succulents on her balcony, gave me a sympathetic look. She left 3 days ago, the neighbor said. Had 2 suitcases. Looked like she was going somewhere nice. My heart sank. I pulled up our joint credit card account on my phone, something I hadn't checked in months, and there it was. Charges in Miami. Luxury hotels. High-end restaurants. First-class flights. Michelle wasn't just gone, she'd taken our son's future and was living it up on the East Coast. When I got home, Ethan was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. He looked up at me with those sharp, calculating eyes. "Dad, you okay?" he asked, his voice too steady for a 12-year-old who'd just seen his father walk in looking like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't answer right away. I just stared at him, trying to figure out how to explain that his mother had betrayed us both. "Ethan," I started, but he interrupted me. "I know," he said calmly. "Mom took the money. She left. I fixed it." I blinked. "What?" "I fixed everything," he repeated, closing his math textbook. "Don't worry about it, Dad. She can't hurt us anymore." At the time, I thought he was just trying to comfort me. Kids don't understand financial ruin. They don't grasp betrayal. But Ethan wasn't a normal kid, and I was about to find out just how far he'd already gone. Subscribe if real-life twists like this keep you up at night. Over the next few days, I watched Ethan closely.
He wasn't acting like a kid whose mother had just abandoned him. He went to school, came home, did his homework, and played video games. Completely normal. Too normal. I caught him on his laptop late at night, fingers flying across the keyboard, his face illuminated by lines of code I couldn't begin to comprehend. When I asked what he was working on, he'd minimize the screen and say, "Just a school project, Dad." But there were signs. Small, unsettling signs. He'd ask me oddly specific questions. "Dad, did Mom ever use the same password for multiple accounts? Do you know if she set up two-factor authentication? Did she ever mention offshore accounts?" I brushed it off at first. Maybe he was just curious, trying to process what had happened. But then I found the garage. Ethan had turned our garage into something out of a spy thriller. There was a whiteboard covered in diagrams, flowcharts, and what looked like network maps. A laptop sat on the workbench, multiple windows open displaying bank statements, IP addresses, and lines of code that scrolled faster than I could read. Next to it was a small device I didn't recognize, wires and circuits exposed. When Ethan saw me standing there, he didn't panic. He just looked at me with that same calm expression. "What is all this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Ethan stood up, hands in his pockets, completely composed. "I told you, Dad. I fixed it." I stared at the whiteboard. There were names: Michelle, Ryan Holloway, bank accounts, credit card numbers, transaction histories. "How did you get all this?" I demanded. He shrugged. "Mom wasn't careful with her passwords. And Ryan, he's even worse. Once I got into Mom's email, I found everything. His accounts, his schemes, all of it." I felt my knees go weak. "Ethan, this is illegal. You can't just hack into people's accounts." He looked at me, his expression unreadable. "She stole from me, Dad. From us. Someone had to stop her. And the police? They wouldn't do anything until it was too late. So I did." I sat down on an old lawn chair, trying to process what I was hearing. "What did you do, exactly?" Ethan pulled up a spreadsheet on his laptop. "I transferred the money back," he said matter-of-factly. "All $55,000. It's in a new account now, one Mom can't access. I also froze her credit cards and reported her activity to the IRS. Turns out Ryan has been running investment scams for years. I sent all the evidence to the FBI. They're investigating him now." I stared at him, speechless. "You're 12. He nodded. "I know, but I'm also good at this stuff, Dad. Really good. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it." I wanted to be angry. I wanted to lecture him about ethics and legality and consequences. But part of me, a dark, vindictive part, was proud. My son had done what I couldn't. He'd fought back. He'd protected us. But there was something else in his eyes. Something cold. Something that scared me. "Ethan," I said carefully, "do you feel anything about this? About what happened with your mom?" He thought for a moment, then shrugged. "Not really. She made her choice. Now she has to deal with it." That's when I realized the truth. My son wasn't just smart. He was dangerous. And I had no idea what he'd do next.
Michelle called 4 days later. I was standing in the kitchen, staring out the window at the desert landscape, still trying to wrap my head around everything Ethan had told me. When her name lit up my phone screen, my first instinct was to let it ring. But curiosity won. I answered. "What do you want, Michelle?" Her voice was frantic, broken. "Nathan, please, you have to help me." "Help you?" I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's rich." "Nathan, listen to me," she begged. "Something's wrong. Everything's gone wrong. Ryan disappeared.
All his accounts are frozen. Mine too. I can't access anything. I have no money, no cards, nothing. And the police are looking for me. I leaned against the counter, a cold smile spreading across my face. Sounds like karma. Nathan, please, she sobbed. I'm stuck in Miami. I don't even have enough for a hotel tonight. I don't know what happened, but someone did this to me. Someone destroyed everything. I glanced toward the living room, where Ethan was sitting on the couch, calmly reading a book. Someone did this to you? I repeated. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stole $55,000 from your own son. Nathan, I made a mistake, she cried. I know I hurt you. I hurt Ethan. But I didn't deserve this. I don't deserve to be left with nothing. You left us with nothing, I shot back. You emptied our son's education fund and ran off with some con artist. You don't get to play the victim now. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, Is Ethan there? Let me talk to him. Maybe he'll understand. I looked at Ethan. He'd set down his book and was watching me with that same unnerving calm. Put her on speaker, he said. I hesitated, but something in his tone made me obey. I pressed the button and set the phone on the counter. You're on speaker, Michelle. Her voice softened. Ethan, sweetheart, it's Mom. I know things are bad right now, but I need you to understand. Save it, Ethan interrupted, his voice cold. I don't want to hear your excuses. Ethan, please, she pleaded. I'm your mother. I love you. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. You didn't mean to steal from me? He asked, his tone icy. You didn't mean to abandon us? Or did you just not mean to get caught? Michelle's sobs filled the line. Ethan, I'm begging you. Help me. I have nothing. No money, no way home, nothing. Ethan smiled then, a small, chilling smile that made my blood run cold. Don't worry, Mom, he said. I already helped. What? She asked, confusion cutting through her tears. Let's just say, Ethan continued, Ryan won't be a problem anymore, and neither will you. The authorities have everything they need. You're done. The line went silent. Then Michelle whispered, What did you do? Ethan's smile widened. I told you, Mom. I fixed everything. The call ended. I stood there, staring at my son, my mind racing. What had he done? And more importantly, what was he capable of?
3 days later, Ryan Holloway showed up at my door. I wasn't expecting him. I didn't even know he knew where we lived. But there he was, standing on my front porch in broad daylight, looking like a man who'd lost everything. His clothes were wrinkled, his face unshaven, his eyes wild with rage and desperation. When I opened the door, he didn't wait for an invitation. He shoved his way inside. Where is she? Ryan snarled, his voice low and dangerous. Where's your little brat? I stepped between him and the living room, my heart pounding. Get out of my house, now. Ryan laughed bitterly. Your kid ruined my life. He hacked my accounts, stole my money, and sent the FBI after me. Do you have any idea what he's done? Behind me, I heard footsteps. Ethan appeared in the hallway, completely calm. You did that to yourself, Ethan said, his voice steady. I just made sure you got caught. Ryan's face twisted with fury. He took a step toward Ethan, and I moved to block him. Don't, I warned, my voice hard. You're not touching my son. Ryan glared at me, then at Ethan. Your kid is a psychopath. He destroyed everything. My accounts, my business, my life. All gone because of him. Ethan crossed his arms, unfazed. You scammed people for years. You manipulated my mom. You stole from us. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? Ryan lunged forward, but I grabbed him by the collar, shoving him back toward the door. Get out, I growled, before I call the cops. Ryan's eyes darted between me and Ethan, desperate and unhinged. You don't know what you've done, he spat. I've got nothing left to lose. That makes me dangerous. Ethan pulled a small device from his pocket, a phone. He tapped the screen, and suddenly Ryan's own phone buzzed in his pocket.
Ryan pulled it out, his face going pale as files began appearing on the screen. "What the hell is this?" Ryan demanded. "Proof," Ethan said calmly. "Every message you sent, every threat you made, every crime you committed. The authorities have it all now, and so do I." Ryan stared at the phone, his hand shaking. "You're bluffing," he whispered. Ethan tilted his head. "Am I?" That's when we heard the sirens. Ryan froze, his eyes wide. Ethan hadn't just gathered evidence. He'd been live-streaming Ryan's threats, sending everything directly to the Phoenix Police Department. Within seconds, blue and red lights flooded the front yard. Ryan turned to run, but it was too late. Officers burst through the door, guns drawn. "Hands up," they shouted. Ryan complied, his face a mask of defeat. As they cuffed him and led him away, he looked back at Ethan one last time. "This isn't over," he muttered. Ethan smiled. "Yes, it is."
The house was quiet after they took Ryan away. Too quiet. I stood in the living room, staring at the spot where Ryan had stood just minutes before, trying to process everything that had happened. Ethan sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone like it was just another Tuesday. He looked up at me, his expression calm, almost bored. "It's over now, Dad. We're safe." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to feel relief, to celebrate that we'd won, that the people who'd hurt us were finally facing consequences. But all I felt was a deep, unsettling unease. "Ethan," I said, sitting down beside him, "what you did, it's not normal. It's not something a 12-year-old should be able to do." He shrugged. "Maybe, but it worked, didn't it?" I stared at him, searching for any sign of emotion, any hint of the boy I thought I knew. "Do you feel anything about this? About what happened to your mom? About Ryan?" He thought for a moment, then shook his head. "Not really. They made their choices. I just made sure they faced the consequences. That's fair, isn't it?" Fair. The word hung in the air like a ghost. Was it fair? Michelle had betrayed us, stolen from us, and abandoned us. Ryan was a con artist, a manipulator, a criminal. They deserved punishment. But watching my 12-year-old son orchestrate their downfall with surgical precision, with no remorse, no hesitation, no emotion, that terrified me. What scared me wasn't that he'd done it. It was how easily he'd done it, and how little it seemed to affect him. Over the following weeks, life slowly returned to normal. Michelle was charged with embezzlement and fraud. She pleaded guilty, received probation, and was ordered to pay restitution. Ryan was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for wire fraud, extortion, and a dozen other charges. The $55,000 Ethan had recovered sat safely in a new education trust, untouchable and secure. We'd won. We'd survived. But at what cost? Ethan went back to school, back to his homework and his coding projects. He never mentioned Michelle or Ryan again. It was as if they'd never existed, as if the entire nightmare had been erased from his mind. But I couldn't erase it. I couldn't forget the look in his eyes when he'd calmly destroyed 2 adults. The cold calculation, the absence of doubt. My son was brilliant. He'd saved us. But he'd also shown me something I couldn't unsee, a capacity for ruthlessness that no child should possess. One evening, about a month after everything ended, I found Ethan in the garage again. He was working on a new project, something with circuit boards and wiring. I watched him for a moment, then asked, "What are you building?" He looked up and smiled. "A security system. For kids whose parents steal from them, so they can protect themselves." I felt a chill run down my spine. "Ethan, you can't just—" "Why not?" he interrupted. "I did it for us. I can help other people too." I didn't know how to respond. Part of me was proud. He wanted to help people, to use his skills for good. But another part of me wondered, where does it end? When does protecting yourself become something darker? I don't have the answer. All I know is that my son is extraordinary, brilliant, dangerous, and I love him, even though he scares me sometimes. What would you have done in my place? Let me know in the comments.